GOAT is a movie made by Sony Animation, the people behind the Spider-Verse movies, the forgotten but masterful Mitchells vs. the Machines, and yes, K-pop Demon Hunters. To say that I was looking forward to this movie would be an understatement because I was actually expecting something good after how many wins this studio has made in the past couple years. I usually don't like to do this because any studio can vary in quality, but Sony just is different to me, and what do you know? I saw GOAT. I'm assuming you thought it was an abomination based off the title of this video, but actually I think it's pretty good. No masterpiece, but a suitable time at my movie theater and definitely something that I really hope will make Sony some well-deserved money. Sure, it's your run-of-the-mill, almost beat-for-beat story arc of an underdog, but throw in some beautiful animation, some solid performances, and make it actually satisfying in the end, and I can get behind it. But of course, as we should all know by now, I hate everything because GOAT's main antagonist is, well, let's just cut to the chase. Let's talk about how GOAT teaches us how to write a boring antagonist. Make sure to like, comment, hype, and subscribe to this channel for more video essays like this, and to my second channel if you like edits of all your favorite movies mixed with all of your favorite songs, give or take. You may have noticed that I have already talked about writing boring characters before with my Despicable Me 4 video, but that was for a villain. This is for an antagonist, so I thought that we can start with differentiating both of them. A villain like Maxime Le Mal is a villain because they are evil and have a master plan that involves more than just our main protagonist. An antagonist like Maine is an antagonist because he is against our main characters, but he's not necessarily evil about it. So to deep dive more into Maine, let's start with this. He's barely in this movie. The movie definitely succeeds on its own without having a main threat throughout it, but honestly, the movie seems to recognize that they do want to have an antagonist and forces that character into the movie with not much meaning outside of it being a characterized plot device. Maine is crucial to the setup in the movie as it gives reason why Flo would want to bring Will onto the Thorns. Maine does show promise in the beginning as someone that Mr. Lucas from Stranger Things will have to go up against later and overcome, but he fumbles the first two shots that Will takes and seemingly just makes a fool out of himself, but then suddenly, and I guess unsurprisingly, he just dominates Will 3 rounds in a row to show dominance. I always talk about how a villain, and in this case an antagonist, should have a scene that establishes them as the villain/antagonist. And this scene does accomplish that to the bare minimum, where sure, Maine does beat Will, but it was already really close that it's difficult to take Maine seriously after this when he's supposed to be the best player in the game, only for him to almost lose to Will in the first scene we actually see him out in public. I know I nitpick about this a lot when I'm talking about villains or antagonists, but I really do think this is a make or break moment for those characters, because if they don't stick their entrance, the audience won't take them seriously. Speaking of taking something seriously, I think this leads me into another huge topic we need to discuss. I swear to God, we see Maine get more haircuts than we see him on the court. Now, let me be honest with you, this video would be really short if I was just going to talk about Maine because he is barely in this. I mean, I'm only half joking with that haircut line. A lot of this movie consists of side quests that don't really apply to any overarching narrative. It's a very fast-paced film, and due to its inability to tell one plot without going off on another bit, that makes portraying an antagonist really difficult. The fact that there isn't much of Maine throughout the film deteriorates what could possibly be a very fitting final battle where Will finally proves himself. A couple days before seeing this film, I saw this audience review on Rotten Tomatoes that caught my attention. Here is that review. It's a brain rot movie. The scenes are never longer than 5 seconds, and there's never more than 3 seconds without noise or emotion. While I understand the goal is to keep your attention, I don't watch movies to just feel like I've been scrolling on TikTok for an hour, which is what this film is. What the film offers is animation and a lot of stimulation. Little did I know then, that would sum up a lot of my gripes with the film, although I would not rate it as low as this person did because I did actually have fun with it regardless of my problems. This helps my case that Maine is a boring antagonist because at most, Maine seems more like a recurring but brief obstacle instead of a real threat towards our main character's success. Miguel O'Hara succeeds at being an antagonist because although mainly being a threat to Miles' success in the back half of the film, his presence is still felt by the few times that he is actually seen in the first half because his influence is written everywhere, whether that's sending Gwen Stacy to find out what what the Spot is doing, giving a reason why Gwen knows all these spider people whereas Miles doesn't, and he even does the same thing Goat does and has him basically start the main plot. Main's presence is something more of a reminder when he's on screen. He doesn't do anything or is influencing anything when Jet is able to just make fun of him live. I mean, to speak more on that haircut stuff, to be honest, it should have been a much better fit if along the way we get glimpses of Main going against other teams on the court and absolutely destroying them, not only to give his presence meaning outside of a joke, but to also give Will more of a reason to worry about if he's good enough, so that when he proves that he is good enough, the audience gets more satisfaction and believes in Will. Now, of course, I'm not stupid. Superpowered vampire man and a talking, walking, dunking horse are two very different types of antagonists, but they are logically comparable because they are against the protagonist. I'm not saying May needs to be swinging around the court and trying to absolutely decimate Will while progressively going crazy, but to utilize what the studio has done before and give more reasoning as to why Main is there outside of we need Will to have a good opponent to go up against in the end would have been a really smart move. Main doesn't have anything to do after he's made a fool out of himself in the beginning, and that's what makes him boring because the writers obviously have no clue how to put him in the movie outside of just making him look even more idiotic the more he desperately waves at the audience and says, "Remember me? Yeah, I still exist. Don't forget about that because I'm still here and I'm coming back later to defeat Will." So, to move away from goat tears and haircuts, I think we should move on to the ending of this film, which, yeah, sure, isn't going to change how I overall feel about Main's characterization as an antagonist force, but I do have to give credit where credit is due. The animation definitely saves a fraction of Main's intimidation. This movie, in my opinion, looks better than K-pop Demon Hunters, and that's already a really pretty film, but Goat's animation does a really good job at scaling the different characters and having size actually matter. Get your mind out of the gutter. I mean height, not in inches, but feet. There are noticeable height differences between Will and Main, and especially when they're actually on the court together, that difference is felt big time. I don't think the animation completely makes up for the character arc, but it does actually make each impact of the ball hitting the ground have meaning behind it and allows for there to be more visual odds stacked against our protagonist. I do think this is overall a good thing, but to still drive my point home, we're not actually fearing Main himself, but instead we're fearing that Will might lose. Obviously he doesn't, but still. Main is a smaller piece in the bigger picture, which is Magma, aka his team. The one unique thing that Main does that everyone else on the team doesn't do is injure Jet, but that's not really enough to be a greater threat to the audience. The environment is dangerous, and this is a game that's been established as having winners and losers, so it's not Main we're afraid of the possibility that the Thorns might lose. Overall, Main's whole purpose in the movie is to start the plot and be a physical reflection of the beginning of the movie where he first went against Will, but the fact that the plot doesn't find him that interesting to show in the court outside of the ending makes me feel uninterested. The space that he takes up throughout the movie that are small, very brief moments that don't lead to anything else outside of telling a joke or two, slow down an already really fast-paced movie and make it visibly boring. That would be fine if Main wasn't supposed to be a threatening antagonist, but the ending makes me believe that their intent was to have Main be scary when they never even tried to build him up like that. Again, I do want to reiterate that I don't think Goat is a bad movie. I think it accomplishes what it sets out to do, but it does it in a way that doesn't make me start reconsidering what my favorite Sony Pictures animated movie is. Honestly, I think that Goat matches more quality that Illumination puts out on a good day, but the fact it's Sony makes me want to be a little bit more harsh because they are capable of doing so much more. But with that said, thank you everybody for watching. I'm Enchanted. Bye.